The growl of GT cars. We certainly haven't heard that in a while here at GPVWC. The last time we heard that was in 2013. And heading into 2014, the series, it faltered, it stalled. We didn't know what was going on. Well, welcome to 2015. World GT is back, and what a mod we have with it as well. United Racers Designs Endurance GT mod. Beautiful sounds, beautiful cars, a very open grid, it must be said, and, well, what a way to launch the next era of the league here at Fuji Speedway. It's going to be an exciting round of racing. We're stepping into the unknown. My name's James Kirk, here with you nearly as always throughout the entire season. I won't be here next time, but hopefully someone who will be with you for every round of the season is a brand new co-commentator here. But he knows a lot about R Factor 2, which is why we have him here in the first place. It's Mr. Ben Horrell. How are you, good sir?
I'm very well, thank you, James. How are you? Looking forward to Fuji, actually. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. New platform, new mod, new track in many ways as well for these guys. Different layouts. So, yeah, looking forward to getting it started.
Yeah, it must be said, Fuji Raceway, many of you will be aware of the track, I'm sure. We're running a slightly modified version as a chicane in the middle of Sector 2. Is not present. If we go on board, by the way, shout out to our cameraman for today, Quinton Plain, coming at very late notice, so thank you very much, Quinton. If we go on board with Matthew Churgwin, currently P4, we are going to take you on a lap of Fuji Speedway, or the certain configuration that we have. Anyway, there's plenty of traffic ahead of us, so hopefully it won't hold us up too much. But in the TSA Racing Aston Martin is Churgwin, and a very beautiful car it is. We head through first. It's just called first, I don't know why, but it's the first corner of this track. And yes, we can already see that Churgwin, who was second in free practice, actually heading through turn 2 now, already being held up by his teammate Morby and Kenny Libert, ahead into Coca-Cola corner, turn 3. We had Craig Jones at Portimao last time. Coca-Cola this time around in Fuji as we head around 100R, a great corner complex this. And then down into the hairpin at turn 6 as Kenny Libert comes back on track pretty nastily, actually, hitting Churgwin. That will not leave him very happy on his second lap as we head through turn 7 and now into turn 8, heading through 300R now. Very typical Japanese corner names these are. Either sponsors, an R, or just a simple corner name into turn 10 Dunlop. And this is where we cut across the chicane section now, which we see so many times, up into 13th, which is turn 11 for us on this occasion, through the ever winding upward hill turn 12, and then further, a tighter uphill complex of nets, turn 13. Final corner, turn 14, is Panasonic going further uphill, and Churgwin's unfortunately held up on his lap this time around. But that's Fuji Speedway. Difficult track, and from what I've been hearing about the drive, or from what I've been hearing from the paddock as a whole, is that we have two choices of tyre here. We have the regular endurance tyre, and we have the sprint tyre. Apparently you can make it to the end on the regular tyre, but it's going to be very close on tyre wear, and it's going to be very close on fuel. Some might be electing to go for the faster option of tyre today, and have a one-stop there effectively.
It's an interesting point, actually, you bring up about the tyres. I have heard rumours you can make it on the sprint tyres, you said, but it's going to depend a lot on how the driver takes care of the tyres. And I think that's one thing you're going to find a lot more in R Factor 2 is people that are kind on the tyres are going to do a lot better in these endurance-style events with new tyre models. Flat spots are going to be a major issue, so you're going to be looking for drivers that are clean on the brakes and don't light up the rears as much.
Yeah, indeed, and we'll go through the various changes that R Factor 2 can bring to the drivers in comparison to R Factor 2 can bring in comparison to R Factor 1, which of course we've used in the league for many years now. Since 2009 we've been running it, and we did have a little foray into R Factor 2 a year and a half ago with the Masters Series of 2013, won by Sean Stroud in the Drivers' Championship and CSG Racing in the Teams Championship, but it's primarily a completely new grid here today as we have 8 minutes of qualifying left. I should go through the format actually. So as you can see, cars are going around for multiple laps. That's because they can. No super pole here. You've got 15 minutes, get as many laps in as you can, get the fastest time that you can, and then it's standard World GT format that we saw 2 years ago. 1 hour of racing. When the timer hits 0, the leader finishes that lap, and that is the end of the race. So a nice, simple format for you to remember. Plenty of strategy calls to think about. Possibility of rain, always a threat. We have an ever-evolving track. As I say, we'll go through all of that information about teams, about drivers, about favourites, about R-Factor 2 itself in the warm-up session. What we're concerned about now is who's going to take pole position in this first session. And currently on pole position is a new man here at the league, the Peruvian Luis Felipe Capamajan, driving for Scuderia Basilia, who've had a bit of a downfall ever since they lost Giuseppe Ranieri in the Super Cup. They found themselves suffering in 2014. They've now been shuffled down to Formula Challenge in 2015. But they've signed up Felipe Capamajan and his good friend Nico Barclay, who has taken part in the Super Cup this season already. Both looking like solid drivers, actually. And I see Barclay's up there in P4. So maybe, on early impressions, World GT could be just what Scuderia Basilia need to give the whole team a boost and say, look, we can still be a front-running outfit, if not in open wheelers, then definitely in tin tops.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what happened to Scuderia Basilia. It's they had such great success with Giuseppe Ranieri, and then to see them sort of spectacularly fall down the field the year after was quite a shock. But yeah, they're definitely a team to keep an eye on as they just they're following each other at the moment on track as well, which is quite nice to see. Nice liveries as well, which is always appealing.
Yeah, very different liveries actually to Basilia. They've been experimenting with other cars, and a nice black, pink, and blue livery for them this time. I know Cosmo, who are a team who didn't get in, it must be said, so many entries for such a small team field, because only 15 teams have been allowed in this year. It's just a precaution to see if we can actually run it solidly, and have good fun at the same time. But the two of them sharing very similar liveries as it happens, and you'll see that they are taking part in the Corvette. We have the majority of the vehicles in the EGT mod being used here in the World GT field, with the exception of the Dodge Viper. It was going to be used by Adonis Engineering. They decided to switch out, which is a shame, but hey, they're all good-looking vehicles, and I say good-sounding vehicles in the end as well. Love the roar that these GT cars are bringing out. Currently in P2, Cameron Brewster now. He had a great round in the World Sports Series yesterday in Portugal, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast. Didn't have a great race 1. Took a podium in race 2 with Walk Racing. He's driving for Torrent Motorsports here, and looking very strong as well in the Porsche 911. Must be said, you'll see probably that in the EGT mod they have pseudo-names, so it's like Arthur Merlin for Aston Martin, Dash for Porsche, Ferruccio for Ferrari. For the sake of the audience at home, you guys, we are going to call them by their proper names, because it is a Porsche. Yeah. We could call it a flat 6 if you want, but anyway, good effort from Brewster to be up there in P2. Matt Richards as well, another Dash slash Porsche in the top 3. He's driving for Smart Power Racing, as I say. Nico Barclay up there in P4, and then Lewis McGlade. Ever improving is McGlade, my good old friend in the commentary booth, and again, that's actually a 3rd Porsche in the top 5, so currently Corvettes and Porsches looking like the way to go around this Fuji Speedway.
Yeah, exactly. I think it suits the balance of the Porsches a little bit better. We're seeing BMWs as well are quite high up there. One person I did actually want to have a look at was Sven de Vries, who was starting out a really good lap and then was held up at the start of Sector 2. So he might be one to watch out for in the last 4 minutes or so of this session.
Sven currently in P7. He had a decent round in the World Sports Series yesterday, and it's interesting seeing how chock-a-block the calendar is this year. World GT is now the 4th series. No, I lie. 6th series we've gotten going this year at GPVWC. As I say, it follows directly after the World Sports Series yesterday, and I know the World GT is only a monthly thing. We only have 7 rounds on the calendar this year, of course. But how much does taking part in another series affect you? And this is a more important question for this sort of change, because they're going from R-Factor 1 flat 6s to R-Factor 2 EGTs. I'd imagine that the jump is quite dramatic.
Yeah, it is a very dramatic change. It will be helped by the cars are slightly different, so you get accustomed to one kind of feel, and it's not massively different from the type of cars. If they were jumping from, say, the flat six into a Formula style car, an open wheel style kind of car, the day after, it'd be a lot more difficult for them to transition. But it shouldn't be too bad. The things they're going to have to learn is things with R factor as a general, and obviously the added power of the cars. But R factor as a general is going to be the thing they're going to need to learn the most and the quickest.
I must apologise, by the way, for Ben's slightly fuzzy mic. We are working on it. But if it does go fuzzy, don't worry, he's not losing connection. It's just a problem with the PC or something, I think, isn't it? Anyway, Thomas Jacobs. Now, he is one of the few people in this field. How many did I count? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 people in this field have had good experience with R Factor 2 before and look fast in R Factor 2 as well. Jacobs in the top 10 of the 2013 Master Series with the Renault Megane 2s. He's put an Aston Martin up into P5 with Downforce Iodone Racing. Good to see that there in a very nice looking white and green. It's very Aston Martin-y, the colour scheme. And I do like that. That's pushed Luke down to 6. Pedro Gomez up there in P7 for ST. We'd love to see ST some actual points on the board. Philip Morphy, another Aston Martin up there in P8. Sven de Vries, we were talking about him. He's P9, and actually, I believe, he's had a crash, NID. And I think he's to call it a day. Yeah, he spun out the final corner. He did the Perez at Hungary. Absolutely totaled this car, and that's been done already this evening. So, real shame there for the American. And on the 134.1, he's coming 1.1 seconds off of Poland. This is really interesting to see, because of course we've got track evolution and everything. But once, in a year where we've had such close fields across every single series that we've run, for once, we've actually got quite a distinctly wide gap between pole position and the last time. Captain Majak still on provisional pole position with a 133.0. The last time currently held by Ken Hunter, a 137.1.
Yeah, it's a shame for Sven, actually. He, like I said, lost out of the final corner. And I'm a bit surprised, actually, by the gap of 4 seconds. I was estimating around a gap of about 2.5, 3 seconds, but certainly not 4. Wonder if we'll see Ken back out to try and improve his time.
Certainly hope so, wouldn't you? But that said, with 56 seconds to go, we won't. So anybody who's out there is probably going to be on their last laps. Now, I see Kappa Majan is still out there. I think we'll call him Kappa Majan rather than Felipe. Well, I don't know. I'll have to ask Luis once we get into the practice session. We've got him out there, Brewster, Richards, Barclay, Jacobs, McGlade and Gomez, the top 7 all out there. Morby, De Vries and Parker in 8th, 9th and 10th have all decided to give it a day. Then we've got another massive cars from Marius Nicolay, Tommy Oyala, we've got Cherwin, Bryson, Sousa Ferreira, Fuller and Watkins all still out there as well. And as I say, it's a constant here in the World GT. As the track evolves, you can certainly gain more time. As I see Pedro Gomez is in, so he's called it a day. Matthew Cherwin has just popped up into P10 there for TSA Racing, so a good job from the Englishman. But that said, he was P2 in the practice session, so he might be a little disappointed by that. And now qualified by his teammate, Philip Morby, as well. TSA Racing, one of only, let's have a look here, 1, 2, 3, only 5 teams returning from the 2013 season. TSA being one of them. I don't believe Morby out-qualified Cherwin once in the rounds that they spent together, so a real shame to see Cherwin so low. But let's have a little look here now. I think Kappa Majan is going to be done, unfortunately, as he crosses the line, so he won't improve on his 133. Who is next? I see Richards there coming across the line. Will the Welshman improve his slot on the grids from P3? No, he won't. I see Brewster as well, potentially with the chance to improve. Barclay with a chance to improve. Jacobs also out there. As Matt Richards pits there. Let's see, I think it will be Barclay across... No, it won't be, sorry. It'll be Brewster across the line next. Let's have a little look here. Brewster. I see Barclay pits. Brewster does not improve. By the way, Kappa Majan, he did improve to a 132.8, so a great effort from the Peruvian. And I think that just leaves Thomas Jacobs out there, the lone Aston in the top 5, and he pits as well. So... New here at GPVWC, he may be, but Luis Felipe Capamajan, is he the new name on the block to keep an eye out for? He takes pole position here at Fuji.
And what a way to do it. 0.5 of a second quicker than Brewster, and Brewster has been proven is no slouch before. I mean, second on the grid is a fantastic achievement. but to take pole by half a second, that's amazing, and I think we're definitely gonna have to keep an eye out for him in this series.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, not much to read from qualifying, as is always the case. It's always the race that makes the most difference in whether you score points or whether you do not. And with an hour of racing indeed to look forward to, I'm sure the strategies will play out, and I'm sure that contact will no doubt happen between a couple of drivers. Of course, that's one thing which Masters 2013 was a little bit disappointing in regards to, with plenty of contact abound. There were, ban-hounded out, penalties all over the place. We certainly hope not to see that here. World GT has usually provided excellent racing every single time been to a circuit and brought GT cars to it. So, as I say, hopefully Fuji will remain the same. Brewster there, second. Great effort from him. Richards third. Barkley, Scuderia Basilia, 1-4. Looking great for the Swiss outfit so far. And Downforce iZone Racing will be very happy to see Jacobs up there in P5. Then we've got McGlade Gomez, Morby De Vries Churgwin. Looking like it's going to be a very interesting round one indeed. So, 10 minutes of warm-up now to let the drivers rubber into the track a bit more. Ben, let's talk a little bit about R Factor 2 itself and the major differences from R Factor 1. We have dynamic weather, no more need for RFE. We've got a good penalty system. We've essentially got an inbuilt RF scan as well. Take us through the major details of what the audience has to look out for here as we make the transition.
Yeah, of course, we have all those you mentioned, the flat spots I mentioned earlier as well. Definitely keep an eye out on the broadcast for tyre smoke and things like that, and spins as well. Spins can really destroy your tyres. And also an interesting fact, if we get some wet weather, we're going to see rivers along the track as well, which is something new, which again makes certain corners a bit more dangerous than others, adds a lot to the realism, and it's fantastic to watch the cars slide around. And again, with the drying lines, they're dynamic and individual lines, so they're not going to dry on a painted sort of line that's been made by the creator. They're going to dry as the cars are going over them, so we could see some different lines at play as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest changes. We're not sure whether we're going to get rain at all here in Fuji today. Obviously, Fuji is famous in F1 for its heavy wet showers as much as Malaysia. But whereas in R Factor 1 you have that one distinct line appearing, in R Factor 2, if you've got plenty of people taking different lines and you've got the whole track drying at a different pace, it's going to be fascinating to see. And I must say, rain was a persistent, thanks to Mike Pittman. I hope you're watching at home, Mike, but every time he was at a track, it started to rain in one way or another. So I wonder if Ben Horrell, you're going to continue the curse of the rain. We'll have to wait and see, of course. So, let's go through a little bit of a history lesson. I'm a history student. We all love history at one point in our lives. Returning teams from 2013. We have Torrent Motorsports, Hawkeye Racing, who are not here today, actually, and that's going to be a massive thing against them, because GPVWC in the last couple of years has been pretty strict against people missing out on such tight grids as well. Or, well, I say missing out on tight grids, missing cars when there are so many teams that have to be let out. PSA Racing, ST and PB, or Racing Aces, PB Racing as they are here, today. Those 5 have returned. Big pointer as well, no Midnight Motorsport, no Alex Cooper. We're going to have a brand new team's champion for sure. We may have a new driver's champion. Cooper might, of course, come in and, dominate the field later in the season. But for the moment, new drivers, of course. In terms of where the highest placed drivers from 2013 are, well, we have Boyd Bryson, who qualified in the top 20. He finished 6th in 2013. And Torrent Motorsports were the highest placed team. They finished 17th in 2013. So you start to see how open this grid is and how little we can read into how good everyone is. In terms of the calendar, we've got a great calendar, don't we? We've got Fuji Speedway, Interlagos, Istanbul Park, Circuit Algarve, which we saw yesterday with the World Sports Series, can provide some absolutely epic racing. Brno, great track in 2 years ago in 2013, and then Silverstone, and we wrap up at the Circuit of the Americas, which proved a big hit last year in the career ladder. Good looking calendar, And also, things to keep an eye on in terms of records. The driver with the most wins in World GT is Dave Carr-Smith with 5. I doubt that will be broken this year, but maybe in the years to come. And the person with the most poles in World GT is Alex Cooper with 4. Again, I doubt that will be broken this year as well, but you never know. 7 rounds is more than 5 and 4, so perhaps Kappa Majan can go on a bit of a dominating streak, Ben.
Yeah, it'd be interesting actually. And I've just having a look at the calendar and talking of weather. Silverstone, I think, is a race you're going to see the new weather system in play. So let's hope for that. But just looking down at the warm up, I've been watching Lewis McGlade, and he is looking incredibly smooth through 130R, the long right hander. And I'm just watching other people's lines, and he seems to have the smoothest way of getting around that particular corner. It's incredibly interesting to watch everybody's lines through that corner.
It's going to be interesting to see how the first lap goes as well. Sorry. He likes Kappa. That's going to be easy for you. I know, Luis, his name is definitely one of the more difficult ones we've had to deal with this year. His nickname is Kappa. So I think we will go with that, shall we? We'll nickname him Kappa, just like Ranieri is Pepe. Maybe nicknamed drivers.
That sounds great for me, actually.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah,
maybe drivers with nicknames are the way to go for Scuderia Brasilia, because he's got pole position there.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly something interesting. We'll have to see how it follows on for the rest of the season if it catches on. Maybe a few other drivers have nicknames for us. They'd like to have announced as well.
Right, yeah, so Luis confirms Kappa. So thanks for making our job easier, Luis. Any excuse. Right, 4 minutes left. As I was alluding to earlier, there are drivers who have taken part in the 2013 Masters Series. As I'm looking at McGlade, trying to see how smooth he is, and I've seen he just messed up turn 11 royally there. But
yeah, he had to do that one for me, didn't he?
Yeah.
Context there. There you go.
Unpredictability, I love it. But anyway, Tom Parker, Tom Jacobs, Cameron Brewster, Kenny Libert, and Philip Morby. They all finished in the top 10 of the Masters in 2030 now. Okay, that was in Renault Megane 2s. They're touring cars, really, in comparison to these GT machinery. But how much do you think that experience is going to play into their hands?
Oh, it's gonna play into the hands greatly. I mean, you're working on the R Factor 2 platform, which is going to give them a lot more experience over the other guys on the track. So, and over the race distance as well. I mean, R Factor 2 is easy to learn for sort of hot laps, but for looking after your tyres and over a race distance, it's going to be interesting to see who adapts.
Just heard through Sven de Vries that we might have Fran Lopez joining for Hawkeye, which would at least save their blemishes somewhat. Fran Lopez is a fast driver as well. He came from the back of the field in World Sports Series at Portugal. Not an easy track to overtake on Portugal, Circuit Algarve, but he scored points nonetheless in race 2. So, he's a fast driver, Fran. Perhaps a bit aggressive at times, but maybe for Hawkeye to get on the board today, that's the sort of driver they're going to need.
Yeah, and he is doing wonderful things as well in Super League with the Adonis team. I think a standout result for him was Bahrain, when he had no upgrades on the car and still popped the car up into the top 10. So fantastic driver, and it'd be interesting to see how he gets on with these tin tops actually as well in our Factor 2. If
he joins, of course.
If he joins, yeah, he's got 2 minutes or so to join, so we'll see.
So a lot of people talking now in the server about fuel and how long we're expecting the race. We're expecting the race to be about 35 to 36 laps in length. Remember though, it is a timed race rather than set laps. So if we get rain or if everyone's just silly slow, then we're going to have less laps on the board, of course. But fuel, apparently, is going to be a bit of a major issue here. And if people are... Apparently, I've heard that if go to 35 laps, it'll be fine. 36 laps, you may have to go into some super fuel-saving mode.
That could be interesting, actually. I haven't actually heard anything about the fuel. I've been mainly hearing things about tyres. But yeah, it could be interesting to see if we get some fuel saving or even some underfuel and then some major fuel saving. But yeah, we'll just have to see how it plays out. First race of the series is going to be It's going to be a lot of learning for people.
Right then, so Tom Parker currently is on top in free practice here. We've got 1 minute to go. Ben, hopefully the fuzziness is gone again. Do you have any idea who's going to win this race? Or do you think that there's really no point, we just got to wait and see what happens?
I have a few ideas of who I think would do well. As for actually winning the race, your guess is as good as mine. It could be the guy who starts in last, or the guy who starts on pole position. It could literally be anybody.
And indeed, our guesses are as good as yours at home. If you are interested in joining in on the festivities here as we enter the new era of GPVWC, full of happiness and full of excitement, then you can get involved on Twitter. If you mention my Twitter handle of @KirkyLife or hashtag GPVWCLive, then send us in your thoughts on the racing, send us in your questions for the podium drivers afterwards, if we even have any podium interviews to do. We'd love to hear your thoughts, we'd love to have your questions, and especially in consideration of the new platform that we are on, I'm sure that there are many of you interested to hear how the drivers have transitioned onto the new platform. Of course, there are other platforms to try. There's Assetto Corsa out there, of course, Project Cars coming along as well. We're not too sure how the league is going to attack it. We know that R Factor 2 is definitely the primary choice for us lots. But I think we hope to see evolution from all three of those platforms, don't we? So that we have competing series, competing platforms, and more importantly, spread out platforms. Because I think it's safe to say R Factor 1 was the thing to race on until GameStop Car came along. With the new era, we have a nice spread of options already, and so obviously we can always pick and choose which series and which simulators we want to go on eventually, which can provide the best racing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how that evolves. Like you said, R Factor was the trendsetter, and as we started in 2009. So, but now we have a lot of fantastic sims, and there's not a lot to choose from them. They all have their own quirks and their own sort of pros and cons. So we just have to see how everything goes. I'm quite interested to see how it goes as well, with a kind of Assetto Corsa cars that look incredibly interesting.
Right, the grid is just being set now, and we'll be off and away on our first formation lap of the season. For those who remember back to 2013, where we used to have not standing starts, but running starts, we are going to remain with the standing starts because it just makes sense. As far as I'm concerned, running starts always seem to cause confusion in some ways, sort of like a safety car. You guy running off ahead, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to get on the pedal, and then there's inevitably contact. It all gets a bit messy. So a standing start is what we will be doing today, and indeed for the rest of the season. As for the drivers now, they're just waiting. I love the feeling of starting a new season. It's just you want to get onto the track, and it's just like, hurry up, please. As I say, I hope you can share my excitement at home. World GT was the first GPVWC series I ever commentated on, and so to see it back and in such beautiful colours, with such beautiful sounds, and with such an open grid as well, let's hope that we can see the racing that we all expect to. So, waiting now. We've got 28 drivers here today, so we are missing 2. I don't think Fran Lopez is going to make it, unfortunately, which means that we are indeed 2 Hawkeyes down, and perhaps we can talk about that for a bit. As we were saying, non-attendance dealt with quite seriously in the past couple of years at GPWC, so a double non-attendance for Hawkeye in a field which was hand-selected by the admins and saw a lot of people disappointed. Not exactly the best start for them, is it?
Yeah, exactly. I think you have a lot of teams sort of pressing the admins about that. A lot of teams that didn't get in that really wanted to. I know there's a lot of big endurance teams from other leagues that wanted to come in. So I'm sure they'll be pressing the admins about it. But it's a shame for Hawkeye. They're a big team, and it's a shame for them to have a double DNS to start the series.
Right. Our race director, Chris Williams, says, good luck all as we move into the next session. Yeah, almost there, everyone. The famous R Factor man. He has cometh once again as everyone heads out onto the grid. As we say, it's difficult to see who will win when really we've got no idea on who's competitive in race trim, whether Kappa Majan's pace was any good at all. Everyone heads to the grid now, and funnily enough, Luis, the last one to join our grid. There we are, he's on there now. And we are off on our formation lap, the first since 2013, and it is Luis Felipe Kappa Majan for Scuderia Basilia, affectionately known as Kappa. He starts on pole position. Cameron Brewster starts on the front row alongside him, P2 for Torrent Motorsports. He's followed then by the Smile Power Racing car, Matt Richards, and then the second Scuderia Basilia car, Nico Barclay starting P4. Thomas Jacobs, good start for Danforth iZone Racing. He's P5 in the Aston, with Lewis McGlade, P6 for Aurora Motorsports in the Porsche. Pedro Gomez, a great start for him, P7 in the ST Corvette, with Philip Morby behind him, P8 for TSA. Sven de Vries crashed out of qualifying, starts P9 for Adonis Engineering in the first of the Ferraris, and Matthew Churgwin rounds out the top 10 in the second TSA Aston Martin. Tom Parker leads his Racing Aces PB Racing team with no livery in P11, followed by Tommy Oyala, the second of the Auroras, in P12. Marius Nicolay starts P13 for Walk Racing. I think Walk will be disappointed with that, to be honest, as Boyd Bryson starts P14 in the second of the Downforces. Bruno Sousa Ferreira starts P15 for Fox Racing in the BMW, with Mark Fuller 16th in the second of the ST cars, with Paul Watkins 17th. We welcome the mighty fourth to GPVWC. He's MP17 with Mike Bell, P18 for Smile Power Racing. We then have Burak Soylu making his debut at GPVWC as well. P19 is the Turk, and he's followed by Kenny Libert in P20 for Fox Racing. We then have Martin Palm, disappointing for him, P21 for Torrent, with Alexander van der Woude leading the Simtech Jota Sport cars in P22. Theo Vandenbrink is 23rd for Adonis Engineering. Lovely to see Theo back after difficult circumstances in 2013 and 14. He's followed by Ken Hunter for Amaroli Racing Team in P24. Then Sharon van der Sloot is a second Simtech car. And David Junt is coming in for PB Racing, interestingly. So he's P26. Paul Joseph is P27 for the Mighty Fourth. And Terence Gretsch rounds out the grid for Amaroli Racing Team. We're missing both the Hawkeyes, unfortunately, as we head on to the grid now with Luis Felipe Kappa Majan to get this World GT series underway.
Almost slipped up there, James.
Almost.
Yeah, apologies for that. I kind of lost my R factor for momentarily, but we're back now, just in time for the cars to start lining up. The midfield to get in there slowly, but yeah, should be away momentarily.
Fuji Speedway, 4.5 kilometers of sharp turns, dynamic corners, and elevation changes galore. Will it provide us with a surprise winner? Will it provide us with an expected winner in Mr. Kappa himself? Is he even an expected winner? We can't really tell. We welcome you to the new era of GPVWC in R Factor 2. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in. Here we go then. The new era is underway, and it's a great start from Cameron Brewster there on the outside. Kappa is slightly slow off the line. Oh, there's contact already in the midfield. Oyala involved there, I see. Really weird to see it on the start straight. Kappa Majan, though, he has managed to hold the lead just about from Cameron Brewster. Matt Richards with a good start. Barkley as well. Sven de Vries has had an excellent start as well, battling alongside Pedro Gomez. So Sven de Vries up into 7th already as Brewster battling for lead. Oh, Brewster's round already. He tried to go on the inside of Coca-Cola turn 3, and it did not work out for him at all. He is all the way down the order, unfortunately, and that means that Luis's nearest competitor is gone already. Mind you, though, Matt Richards for Small Power Racing, he's looking to pick up the mantle, isn't he? Straight onto the back of the Peruvian. Thomas Jacobs, he's had a good start up to P3, and look at de Vries again. Well, he didn't do well in qualifying, but from P9, he's up to P4 already, and already onto the back of Jacobs as we head into Dunlop Corner now. Let's go back up to the front with Kappa Majan as we head into 13th, also known as turn 11 on this layout. Round turn 12 and uphill further as we head into nets now. It's been a poor first lap for many, a great first lap for others. I see Nico Barkley falling down the order around P11 there. It's also a poor start for the second of the Peruvians, but for the first, it was slightly dodgy off the line, but across the first lap split he goes now. He does maintain the lead of the race. Is Kappa from Richards Jacobs, De Vries Chergwin, Nikolai, Gomez, Bryson McGlade and Sousa Ferreira. Matt Richards already in the slipstream takes the lead of the race. That was effortless from the Welshman. And I wonder whether Kappa Majan's running a bit more wing. He's looking very susceptible out there.
He did look to get mugged coming down that start-finish straight. I wonder if he's gearing up more for just getting off the corners as opposed to top-end speed. The race, though, had a flyer from 7th to 4th. He is definitely fired up. I think he's a bit disappointed with himself in qualifying, and he's really making up for it in the race.
Shout out to Thomas Jacobs there in third. He had a nice, solid start, kept out of trouble, and that's promoting him up into the podium positions. Matthew Chergwin as well, a disappointing qualifying for him, following De Vries through the field up into P5. Nicolay, great start from the German actually as well. He's up into P6. Gomez has maintained 7th, McGlade 8th, Sousa Ferreira up into 9th, and Nico Barkley. We didn't quite see what happened to Barkley there, but he is down there in P10 nevertheless, as Jacobs right onto the back of Kappa Majan now. I do wonder what's going on. I've heard that there's a little ping coming through from my friend. De Vries is off. De Vries is off, and what happened to him there? Let's have a little look. He was into... Oh, yeah, he lost it. Dunlop. How very strange. He's down to P9, so not exactly a lot of places lost, but a very strange place to lose it, as it's a quite simple right-hander from the looks of it.
Yeah, I have to sorry for that, Sven. Again, I take his curse. First it was Lewis McGlade, and now it's Sven De Vries. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened. It just literally looked like he lost it all on his own. Maybe there's some issue with tyre pressures, not quite getting them up to temperature and pressure yet. But hopefully he can get himself back up the field.
Sorry, looking up to P2 now, Thomas Jacobs. Taking advantage of Kappa Majan's slow straight line speed. He is up into P2. It's looking effortless for those guys now. And I think the good thing for Luis there at least is that he's now got quite a nice gap back to Chergwin, but he's looking so susceptible, isn't he? Perhaps he's had higher wings with the thought of preserving tyres, perhaps? I'm not quite sure, because he's struggling out there on race pace.
Yeah, he's not just struggling for top-end speed either. He is 1.8 seconds behind our leader, Matt Richards, and coming on to the third lap. So, yeah, he's just losing out on overall pace at the moment. His last lap time was a 1:35.0 compared to Matt Richards' 1:33.7. So, he's losing quite a bit of time as well.
Unfortunately, Tommy Oyala, who had that straight off the line incident, he is retired from the race, our first retirement of World GT 2015, unfortunately. I know Tommy's not had the best of luck in 2015 so far. We certainly hope that in future rounds, if he does come back, that he'll be ready and raring to go. Matthew Chergwin there, is he holding on nicely to the back of Kappa Majan in P4. I must say, Marius Nicolay as well. He's been a quiet first lap, and I was saying how disappointed Walk Racing should be in qualifying. To see them up there in P5, that's a little bit better from the German at least.
Yeah, good now. He's got a nice little gap of around 2 seconds now to Chergwin, who we can chase down hopefully. So he's got a nice little gap behind him. He's just going to have to run his own race and try and keep himself out of trouble for the rest of it.
I see there's a battle going on behind though. Sven De Vries has just gotten back past Bruno Sousa Ferreira for P8. So Sven taking the spin, not necessarily in his stride, but he's bouncing back from it nicely. He's back into P8, so I believe that's around where he qualified. So I think it's just a shame that all that wonderful progress on lap 1 was lost so quickly. Sousa Ferreira, must be said, a good job for Fox Racing up in P9. And Barclay, again, I wonder if the Scuderia Basilia outfit have done a hot lap setup so that they qualify well, of course, but then their race pace is slightly off, because I didn't see what happened to Barclay in that first lap, but he's just as slow as Kappa up ahead.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either, but yeah, it could be they haven't tested on full tanks or on race fuel. They could just be waiting for the fuel to burn off, and then hopefully they'll be quicker towards the end of the race. But they're definitely struggling with top end speed.
Let's have a little look. So it must be said, Barclay's still on the back of Bruce Ferreira, so we'll see how that one continues. Paul Watkins in 11th, he's missing his rear bumper, so that BMW's had some mighty work done on this rear end. Boy Bryson 12th, Van der Wouw 13th, Martin Palmer into 14th, and Keely Bear rounding out our top 15. Behind him, the recovering Cameron Brewster in P16. Now, if you are unfamiliar with GPVWC points scoring rules, nothing for pole position, nothing for fastest lap, but the top 15 places will score from 25 for first, all the way down to one singular point for P15. So Kenny Libert currently occupying that point for Fox Racing. As we head back up to let's go back up to P9, shall we? Sousa Ferreira under massive pressure from Barclay now. It seems that the Peruvian has started to find a little bit of rhythm around this Fuji Speedway.
I'm just watching actually at the moment. I am watching Boyd Bryson, who's currently going around 130R in the download I zone car. He's looking very ragged coming into that corner as well. I don't know if he's maybe suffering a little bit of oversteer in his setup, but just the last couple of laps he's been very ragged coming into that corner, but very smooth on the way out. So maybe he's just found a new way of getting around. It's one thing I've noticed so far in that car.
Yeah, because we were looking at smooth driving in free practice, weren't we? And it's generally assumed that you need a smooth driving style to be good in these GT cars, and especially on R-Factor 2 as well. But then, you know, it seems that Boyd Bryson's all over the place. He's still there in 12th, you know, he's still doing a good job. He's on point-scoring pace, but perhaps this is eating up his tyres. We do know that Boyd has been one to eat up his tyres in the past across multiple series, both open-wheeler and indeed tin-tops. So anyway, we are on to lap 6 of 5 with the leaders, but I'm looking at Nico Barclay now. He's on to the back of Bruno Sousa Ferreira, and we've seen that Scuderia Basilia Corvette being overtaken quite a couple of times so far this race, but now it is time for the Corvette to strike back. It's Star Wars all over again, back in black. Nico Barclay's into 9th.
I've just noticed as well, coming into turn 1, there was a piece of debris that I think is off a Smile Power car, and David Yunt is also missing his front bumper. So I think there could have been contact coming down into turn 1 as they're coming down into turn 1 now. Yunt's, oh no, you got Gretsch looking down the inside? No, he backs out of it. It's a smart move. Don't want to be diving down there too early.
I see Van Wilder's had a spin, unfortunately, out from the points now. He's down to P18. I think he spun out of turn 1, to be honest. He's now just ahead of his teammate Sherwin van der Sloot as they all battle outside the points positions. And it must be said, one important thing about racing forces. Oh, round goes Morby and 100R. You don't want to be there. And oh, was that contact further? Oh, I'm not too sure. I couldn't see. Where is it? Oh, yes, a lot of cars in grief, unfortunately. A lot of people missing their front bumpers. And I think, yeah, Morby's car's been absolutely totaled. He becomes our second retirement of the day, unfortunately. But yeah, it's unfortunate scenes down there at the back, but for people up at the front, it's all nice and serene. Matt Richards leads on lap 7 of we believe to be 35 or 36 laps, by a good 2.6 seconds from Thomas Jacobs. Luis Felipe Capamajan, pole sitter, is P3 still, with Matthew Churgan P4, and then all on his own comes Marius Nicolay for Walk Racing. Pedro Gomez, P7, under heavy pressure actually, or P6, sorry, under heavy pressure from Lewis McGlade. So that's McGlade looking to bite back at the ST Porsche. Then De Vries is 8th, trying to recover from an early spin after a great start off the line. Barclay 9th and Sousa Ferreira rounding out the top 10. It's all sort of calmed down a little bit now, apart from that nasty accident near the rear. But let's look at Gomez and McGlade now. A nice juicy battle just outside the top 6. Sven De Vries looking to join him very shortly.
Yeah, talking about it being all quiet, Cameron Brewster has just got past Kenny Liebert for 14th position, I think it. Liebert, sorry, Kenny. for 14th position.
The
so
one thing.
His charge.
But yeah, it's good to see Cameron Brewster retiring. As I say, you've got to keep your head down even after a spin. There is an hour's worth of racing, of which we are only 0.2 into. So perhaps Cameron will further go back up the order, but look at how fast Sven De Vries is. In the space of 2 laps, he's already caught up to the back of P7 and 6 here. He's on a real charge back through the grid.
Yeah, chasing McGlade. This could be an interesting battle to watch, actually. These two have both been very smooth, and they're on the back of Pedro Gomez, so that could be a little battle to watch out for.
As we say, Gomez doing an excellent job for ST. I was not expecting him to be this good yet. Hush your mouth commentator as Lewis McGlade goes ultra defensive there in P7. Sven de Vries looking to the outside now. And I would think that de Vries should have this. Wow, look at that. The top end speed of that Ferrari. Huge in comparison to the Porsche. And I think, whereas perhaps the Porsche and the Corvette were qualifying cars, the Aston Martin and the Ferrari are really showing what their top end speed can do in the race. He eases past the Englishman into P7.
Signed, sealed and delivered before the braking zone. That is impressive top speed. I'm not sure what the top speed difference is. I might have to check that on the next lap. But yeah, like I said, the Porsche is definitely struggling for top end speed and for overall race pace. Maybe they're just different characteristics. Maybe they're not quite as good on high fuel.
And it is worth noting that all teams had a choice of cars going into this event. In fact, Adonis Engineering were brought under a little bit of controversy as they were able to change their car choice before the first round. They changed from the Dodge Viper, they were the lone Dodge on the field, to the Ferrari. Perhaps that change, whether controversial or not in the eyes of the administration and the community itself, looking to do them pretty well, actually. I see Theo van den Brink, De Vries' teammates, down there in P16. So he's still in with a chance of points as well. And at the end of the day, getting any points on the board is crucial here in this World GT Championship, as there are only 7 available opportunities to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be important to really grab the points when you can. Like I said, it's a short calendar, shorter than most series. So you're going to have to really sort of bring your A game to these races. You can't afford to slip up and to retire. You're really going to have to drive through any adversity you find. So yeah,
going on back there. Sorry,
Yeah.
P10, P11, Paul Watkins, despite missing a front bumper, is, oh my word, out of the pits comes a Simtech and missing the apex completely is Bruno Sousa Ferrari. He's just lost P10 and 11 to Watkins and Bryson in very, very close timestamps to each other. There we are. So Paul Watkins, despite missing a rear bumper, he's up into P10, Bryson up into P11, Sousa Ferreira down to P12, unfortunately. Bryce, what was that? That was Watkins going wide. Oh, he taps around Watkins. And I only caught the end of that, but I think that was unfair on Bryce. And let's have a look. He went deep. Bryce went through and I'm not actually quite sure what Watkins could have done. It seemed that Bryson came across Watkins more than anything. To be fair, though, the good job that Bryson has done, he's still there in P12. He's got Brewster catching up to the back of him now, but he hasn't lost out much. Watkins down to P11 from that conflict. Sousa Ferreira back up into 10th.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and see that contact. It was looking good for Boyd as well there. He was, making a few moves and making it happen for himself. So it's unfortunate, but we'll have to see how he comes back into the race. We've already seen Cameron Brewster is charging his way back up the field, so maybe he can emulate that.
Brewster 13th, Palm 14th, so it'll be a double point score for TMO. Working in nice close pursuit of each other, and there's Kenny Lee Bear still in P15, and 4 seconds ahead of Mark Fuller, the second of the STs in P16, who's closely followed by Theo van den Brink. So van den Brink has actually lost that place to Fuller in the time since we have been with them. I'm going to look back up to Sven de Vries now, because he is right on the back of Pedro Gomez. He has left McGlade for dead in the last couple of laps, and up the inside of 100R he goes. This will be a great move if de Vries can pull it off. It's difficult, and bye, Gomez. Goodness me. He's off the track, and does he let McGlade through as well? Indeed he does. Gomez, it just shows how difficult that corner is if you don't let off the gas a little bit. McGlade up into 7th, De Vries up into 6th, Gomez down to 8th, and lucky not to lose a place to Barkley as well, who's right there on the back of him now.
Yeah, it almost looked like Gomez got scared off the track there by De Vries. Maybe it's just pressured into going into the corner a little bit quicker than he desired, and sort of paid the price for it though, losing out to McGlade as well. McGlade and De Vries still charging through the field though between them, and they're staying together. So it could be interesting. De Vries just has a little wobble coming into the left-hander there.
Big wobble. Next up the road, though, is Arias Nicolai. And he's not far up the road, is he? Look, he's only about 3 seconds or so ahead of De Vries, and at the rate De Vries has been going, I'd imagine he'd catch up to him in the next 5 laps or so. Behind, we then have the 2 Corvettes of Gomez and Barclay. So Barclay looking to come back up the field. I think, given his qualifying pace, he should be the faster of the Corvettes here. and he closes, but it's not going to be enough going into first. But Barclay certainly looking to recoup some of his positions that he lost early in this race.
Yeah, most definitely. And just looking back up to the front, Matt Richards still leads by 2.6 seconds from Tom Jacobs. So he's holding that lead. He's holding a really good gap to Jacobs, and then let's see if he can stretch out over the next coming laps or so.
Yeah, Kappa has fallen only further back. He's actually pulled a bit of a gap on Churgwin, which will give him some relief. But I'm pretty sure that he was rather hoping to convert that first pole position of the year into a win as well. Currently 6 seconds off the lead as we speak. Churgwin 8 seconds off, and then it's a further 6 seconds back before we find Nicolay with De Vries and McGlade ever catching. Then it's Gomez and Barclay both going off track. Barclay up the inside of Gomez into turn 11 here, and that's a lovely move from the Peruvian. We saw this coming last lap, and it's happened this lap. He's up into 8th.
Yeah, fantastic move there from Barclay. Very, very clinically done.
It's a good battling. That's just what we want to see. Paul Watkins, by the way, after his little encounter with Boyd Bryson, he's now back up into P10, having disposed Bruno Sousa Ferreira for a second time. Sousa Ferreira's got a nice 4-second gap back to Bryson. And interestingly enough, we were talking about Brewster's charge back through the field. He hasn't really been able to make much impression on Bryson. As I see... Oh no, I thought there were people going into the pits. Sousa Ferreira is just trying to get the slipstream of Paul Watkins. But yeah, Brewster hasn't been able to make that much of an impression on Bryson since then. I see Martin Palmer's fallen well away from his English teammate, but Bryson looks to have gone back on it at least.
Yeah, but I think that little kind of contact really sort of made Boyd sort of concentrate and go, right, I've got to get my head down and try and recover from this now. And the same as it would have done for Brewster. But it's going to be interesting. I think I'm tipping Brewster for a top 10 finish this race. There you go. There's a prediction for the day. Brewster for a top 10.
Your one prediction. 5 seconds off he's got to make up. And I think I'll actually stick with you on that one. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him back in the top 10. Moving back to... Hey, we've got a battle here. Let's have a look at P17 and P18, shall we, Quinton? Paul Joseph in P17 for the Mighty Fourth, a new team here. Joined with another new team, Amarodi Racing Team, with Terence Gretsch in P18. It's good to see these guys still battling away, still having good fun, despite the fact that they are not in points. As I said before, people can report, people can get penalties, and if you are in perhaps the 5 positions below that final point scoring position of P15, you could be in for something good, as Terence Gretsch looks right on the back of Joseph. We're going through 300R now. Will Gretsch look up the inside of Dunlop? He will have a look, and oh, it's ever so close going through there. Joseph holds his line very well. Gretsch finds himself in a bit of a spin, and if you ask me, that was a little bit opportunistic from Gretsch, who, loses a further position to a front bumperless Tom Parker, and also Burak Soylu, another of the new guys here. He finds his way past as well, and in one poor opportunistic move, Terence Gretsch has lost 2 positions. Of course, Soylu's missing his rear bumper as well as, Gretsch up the inside again. Oh, is he going to take both of them in one corner? No, he's not. No. Well, I mean, he was opportunistic a couple of corners ago, and he could have pulled that off if he decided to stay more on the inside of the track, but unfortunately that's racing for you, and Terence Gretsch finds himself falling even further down the order into P21, though thankfully he's still got all the bits on that car, which is crucial. We've had a third retirement, by the way, Mike Bell for Smart Power Racing, as Sherwin van der Sloot. He's also just retired, so that's our 4th retirement of the day. 30% into this race. It's Matt Richards who leads by only 2.1 seconds now, so Jacobs starting to catch the back of Matt Richards as things go. Kapamajan 6.4 seconds off. Churgwin 9.5 seconds off. So those guys are still falling off the back of the leaders, but someone who's not falling off the back of the leaders is Sven de Vries. He's now onto the back, and Marius Nicolay along with Lewis McGlade. I can see a move here.
Yeah, I think with the superior top-end speed of that Ferrari, he's going to at least have a look. Well,
I mean, Nicolay's got a Ferrari as well.
Nicolay's in a Ferrari as well. Sorry, I thought that was a Porsche there for a minute from the camera angle I was looking at. But he does seem to have the slipstream. Whether he's going to make a move, Nicolay's gone defensive. The Vries around the outside. This is going to be brave and interesting, to say the least.
Nicolay locks up, and there's a bit of contact on exit, but he holds on as Tom Parker, unfortunately, becomes our 5th retirement from the race with suspension damage. Send de Vries all over the back of Nicolay. This is drawing in McGlade. And look at Nico Barkley in the background as well after dispensing of the slightly slower Gomez and Watkins and Sousa Ferreira. He's really come alive, and he's starting to catch up onto Battle for 5th here now as well.
Yeah, I think Barkley, if he can nail a good couple of laps in here, he's gonna be right up with McGlade and de Vries. As these three keep battling, he's gonna be right up there. And if he can pick the right move, he could take all three of them in the next coming laps.
I say, whoever is TeamSpeak pinging me, I know you're listening. I can't see because I can't alt-tab out. I'll try and find a solution for next race, and I really appreciate all the information you're giving me, but unfortunately I can't see what's happening. So just a disclaimer there as we keep on watching the battle between Nicolay, de Vries, McGlade, and soon Barkley as well, as de Vries looking around the outside of Panasonic corner. Oh, he was close last time around. He's even closer this time around as McGlade, he's got to keep an eye out for Barkley. Look at him now, he's really catching up. I'm looking forward now to de Vries. Right in the slipstream of Nicolay, and alongside he pulls. There's no chance for the German to defend now, and de Vries is passed on the straight. Nicolay's going to try and get back in the slipstream. It's a very long straight here at Fuji, and will Nicolay try and get his P5 back? He's going to have a little dive. He locks up heavily into first. De Vries goes wide, he gives him a good berth, and that's good defensive driving from Nicolay, back onto P5.
Very brave, but you have to wonder what kind of a state his front right tyre is going to be, and whether he's going to get a lot of vibration. de Vries dives back at the inside. Made it stick, has he? Pushed him slightly wide.
Great racing between these two. Nicolay back on the inside. He's holding on to that P5 for dear life, and here comes McGlade up the inside of de Vries. Can he have a look? No, he can't. He's going to back up at Barkley now. He's right in on this action as well, and can Barkley look up the inside of McGlade? He's going to try around the outside of turn 7. This will be brave. He's holding on, he's holding on, he's holding on. He's going around the outside. Can he? Surely. What a move from Nico Barkley around the outside of 300R. He's up into P7. And I tell you what, de Vries is going to have to get on move on here. Otherwise, Barkley might find his next target to be him.
Yep, fantastic move there. I think the best move we've seen of the race so far from Nico Barkley there. But yeah, he's. I said keep an eye on him. He will be one to take advantage if these three start scrapping, and he did. He did just that. Fantastic work. Now he's on the back of de Vries coming down onto the main straight.
All 4 cars trying to find slipstream. Although Barkley, interestingly, trying to stay out of it, and Lewis McGlade, he sees that. He's going to stay in the slipstream of Barkley instead. And look at Theo van den Brink here. He's a lapped car now. And he's providing a slipstream to Nicolay ahead as de Vries looks to the outside here, and both blocking up into turn 1. Van den Brink goes wide, and here goes Barkley up the inside. A little bit slidey on exit. He can't make anything stick, but this is a very good, close battle. Is that Pedro Gomez in the background catching up to this as well? Yes, it is. So the Portuguese driver might be in on the action for 5th as well. What an epic battle we've here got going for what is essentially 11 points at stake.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see from the new series of World GT. We're seeing such fantastic battles from the get-go. I think this battle could be one to run to the end. They're definitely going at it. So gonna keep an eye on this one.
And of course, what of pit stops? We're currently 40% into our race now of 1 hour in length. If pitters are going to be pitting, I remember last year, or I remember 2 years ago actually, it was interesting to see when people did it, because some pitted very early in the race, some pitted halfway through, and some pitted as long into their first stint as possible. Then again, some are saying we can go absolutely all the way to the end. So honestly, we don't know what's going to happen. If we are expecting pit stops, I'd expect it soon. But right now, I don't think any of these guys are going to be wanting to pit because they can gain position on track.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for the advantage on track as opposed to getting it in the pit stops. But if they can go to the very end, it's going to be interesting how people are looking after their tyres. We've seen a lot of lockups and a lot of sort of spins coming around this race. So we're going to have a look at who's going to be looking after their tyres in the next coming sort of 10
Here goes
laps
de Vries.
so.
Oh, there's contact between de Vries and Nicolay, sorry. Going to turn 1, Nicolay cuts across Barkley, and that was rude from Barkley. Oh, that was rude from Nicolay, sorry, and he's lost his rear bumper as a legacy of that incident. De Vries through into P15 as I see Bruno Sousa Ferreira. He's into the pit, so he becomes our first pitter of the day. of the season. Oh no, not of the season. There's been people in for damage, of course. But De Vries is through. That was a nice clean move from De Vries. Apart from a slight bump going into the corner, that's debatable on how that will end up for De Vries. But Marius Nicolay losing his rear bumper after cutting across sharply on Barclay. That was Nicolay's fault. And there goes Barclay. Can he go and take someone around the outside of 300R? For the second time this race? I don't think it's going to happen. No, it's not. He's going to pull back in. Or he's going to look on the inside of... Oh, Dunlop. No, he's not. As behind us, Pedro Gomez has got past Lewis McGlade, although he runs off track there. Although, I think McGlade must have had a spin because he's fallen well behind everyone.
McGlade did, yeah. He locked up his rears coming into the left-hander. And, yeah, lucky to avoid was Pedro, actually. He was very close, but... McGlade's now got to try and get his head down and get back up to this battle. He was looking good up until that point.
And there's your danger man of the hour. Cameron Brewster, I've just noticed, has gone past Paul Watkins, and he is back up into the top 10. Next man is Lewis McGlade, 5 seconds up the road for him. And look, you can see on the front straight there, the more positions are up there. He's got a target to aim for at least.
Yeah, it always helps a lot when you're a driver when you can see who you're chasing and you can see, that you're catching them corner by corner, and you can it just sort of motivates you that little bit more, allows you to break that little bit deeper, and just allows you to go and get at them. Sorry.
So, halfway through this race, it goes quickly, doesn't it? It's 2013 all over again. Matt Richards for Smile Power Racing leads by 2.1 seconds from Thomas Jacobs. That gap has remained relatively the same all race long. Pole sitter Luis Felipe Capamajan, he has fallen away ever so slightly every lap after losing the lead to Richards and then losing second to Jacobs. Churgwin has also fallen away at a similar pace, but he's very strong there in P4. They then have a 14-second gap back to De Vries, who is back up into the top 5 now, but he's going to have a long way to go before he can even think of competing for the top 4. Then it's Marius Nicolay. He's followed very closely by the recovering Nico Barclay after such a strong qualifying. I think Barclay will be actually quite happy to try and get back into P6, and you can see how much Marius is now struggling. He's missing his rear bumper. That's missing downforce. That's missing traction out of corners, and traction is a pretty crucial element that you want around this track. Pedro Gomez then, P8. Lewis McGlade, P9, and Cameron Brewster after a lap 1 spin, after challenging for lead, rounds out our top 10 as Thomas Jacobs has actually decreased the lead to 1.9 seconds. So is Richard's tyres going, I wonder? Sorry, I've got to have a look back. Oh my word. Battle for P6 and P7, that was very close. Who was that ahead? Was that Ken Hunter? Ken Hunter, with some of the worst backmarking I've seen all season, placed his car in the middle of the track when Barclay and Marius were battling. Barclay with another fantastic move around the outside of turn 3 there. He's up into P6 nice and happily now, but Hunter, I mean, he's not getting his car off track. Deary me. Anyway, Barclay, he's up into P6. Nicolay down to P7, and Gomez trying to avoid Ken Hunter as well. I think he's going to be trying to eye up a move on the stricken Ferrari now. As we may have lost Ben Horrell, I believe.
Hello? Sorry.
Hello, you're back?
Up? There you
no,
go.
okay, there we go. Right here.
Yeah.
By the way,
lost
Tom
everything
Parker...
momentarily there. Sorry about that.
It's all right, don't worry. Tom Parker, he says the game was lagging so hard as all. Thomas Jacobs is in. Interesting. I was saying Jacobs was catching on the lead. He becomes our first front runner to pit. So Kappa goes through into second, Churgwin through into 8th, and now we will see what sort of times these pit stops can get. As Sven de Vries, I believe, he is also into the pit. So Barclay goes through into 5th. Jacobs still in there. And so, ooh, interesting. Let's see. So Marius is through as well. McGlade. Is Brewster coming through as well? Yeah, Brewster's through. Watkins, Bryson also through. And Jacobs, who's lost a position in the pits. Look how long this pit stop is. Out he comes now. I reckon that was a good 30 to 40 second pit stop, Ben. That's a very long time to be in there, for sure.
That is a lot of time to be losing. Just stationary, as well as, of course, the speed limit's coming into the pit. So he's lost a lot of time, down in 11th place now, 50 seconds off the lead. So that could,
Yeah.
if everybody goes to the end, that could cost him a lot.
There's about a minute in the pits, isn't it?
That is a long pit stop. Must admit, I didn't do any research on the pit stops. I didn't think we'd need them for Fuji.
Matt Richards is now rounding the final corner, but interestingly, Matt Richards is now in. He has seen that his closest rival in this race is indeed pitted, and he is now in himself, as I see Lewis McGlade and Marius Nicolay all battling away. Kappa Majan, though, he goes through, so he will retake the lead of this race. So technically, he didn't have, or he didn't, actually no, he did lead a lap, didn't he? Just about. Churgwin through as well. What about Barclay, Kappa Majan's teammate, who is closely pursued by Pedro Gomez? Now, both of them are staying both of them are staying out on track as well. Marius Nicolay, though, he is into the pits, and I wonder if he's going to repair that damage on the rear. I also see Paul Watkins is in, and Boyd Bryson is in as well. But the person that we're interested to see come around the final corner is Thomas Jacobs. Here he comes now. Matt Richards is out of the pits. Here he comes. The gap when we crossed the line, when Jacobs pitted, was 1.8 seconds. Here comes Richards now. Here comes Jacobs, and I think that Richards has extended that gap potentially. It certainly looks like it. Richards out of turn one, nice and solid. Lots of clean air to drive into, and actually, yeah, I think that Richards has gained a lot of time in that pit stop, to be honest. It looks like more of a 3-second gap than a 1-second gap.
Yeah, definitely. There's I'm not sure what Jacobs' out lap was like, but I think Richards' in lap was a lot better. He's extended it, like I said, by a good 2-3 seconds.
It's 5 seconds
least.
now.
5 seconds. And it's going to be interesting to see when Felipe Kappa pops into the pits. If he does pop into the pits, he may have been losing time.
He's still going.
Yeah, he may have been just conserving his tyres. He goes past the pits again.
Churgwin as well. And these guys are about 19 seconds clear of Nico Barclay now back into third. He's closely pursued by Pedro Gomez. If anyone's going to pit next, it'll be these guys. But no, Barclay, he goes round again. As does Gomez. What about McGlade behind? He also goes round again. And Brewster, he's now up into 6. He's round again. Interestingly, though, Bryson, he's pitted. And I'm dead sure that he's pitted as well. Let's have a look here.
I must admit, I didn't see Bryson pit, but if he has, he's...
Nope, I was just wrong. I was completely wrong, sorry. I think he was using the slipstream of Watkins ahead of him, and then he must have pulled out or something.
I was going to say, because I saw De Vries pit, and he's now down into 14th, and Bryson was a little bit behind him, so he did a great job if he did pit to jump Sven De Vries.
Yeah, indeed. And he hasn't, unfortunately. He was just capturing the slipstream of Watkins as he headed in. Oh, pardon me. Nevertheless, we now look to Kappa. See when our Peruvian friend pits. He rounds Panasonic now, and surely he's got to be pitting soon. I see him angling. But no, he's not going in again. Churgwin is, though. Churgwin comes into the pits. He's 5.6 seconds off Kappa Majan. And he comes in now. What about Nico Barclay? He's actually pulled a little bit ahead of Pedro Gomez now, especially with the lap traffic of Kenny Liebert. And no, Barclay, he's going around again, as is Gomez, as is McGlade, and as is Brewster. So
very interesting race strategy so far, isn't it? We're seeing a lot of cars pit, as I think that's Boyd Bryson coming into the pits now. It is indeed.
Yes, he is. He is coming in now. Yeah, coming in now. Matthew Churgwin, though, he was P4 when he entered the pit, or in the whole order of things before the pit phase even started for the top 10. He was P4. Jacobs is passed. And here comes Martin Palm now. He hasn't pitted. But who was... Now, this is when we go completely out of sync, don't we? Because I guess De Vries was the closest to Churgwin. Because, yeah, Churgwin was P4. De Vries was P5. Churgwin comes out, and he must be a good 30 seconds ahead of De Vries.
Yeah, the gap definitely wasn't that before the
was about,
pit stop phase.
I guess it was
think
like
around
20 to
seconds.
25, yeah.
Yeah. But definitely interesting. We're gonna have to watch the Richards and Jacobs battle, as well as, was it De Vries? Who was De Vries battling with?
Yeah, De Vries was with Barclay and Gomez, wasn't he?
Yeah. De Vries is pitted. Barclay and Gomez haven't as of yet.
Well, we're going to have a look and see whether they do pit now. Capamajan, he goes round again, getting more laps under his belt in the lead for Scuderia Basilia. His teammate in second now, Nico Barclay. Again, it looks like he's about to angle, but he doesn't move in. Neither does Pedro Gomez, neither does Lewis McGlade, neither does Cameron Brewster. Next man down the road, though, is Matt Richards. He's there in P6. Thomas Jacobs, P7. Churgwin now back out into P8. Palm 9th and Fuller 10th have yet to pit. Marius Nicolay... Actually, hold on. Marius Nicolay has definitely jumped De Vries, hasn't he? Because Nicolay pitted. He hasn't repaired his damage. And he is absolutely ahead of the American on track.
And by a long way.
It must have been a problem in the pits for De Vries, surely, then.
Yeah, it's not... Because I'm looking at the gap now, and it's plus 5 seconds. Easy. Interesting, though. Cameron Brewster is only 30 seconds off the lead. Of course, yet to pit, as is our leader. But Matt Richards is only 8 seconds behind. That means 38 seconds off the lead. So should Kappa pit now, he's going to lose a lot of time to the Richards and Jacobs battle for the overall lead. Unless,
like I said, his setup is more aimed towards actual tyre conservation, as we have another retirement, unfortunately. Terence Gretsch out. Where was he? Oh, it's a DQ for Terence Gretsch. Interesting. By the way, he becomes our 6th retirement of the day, unfortunately, out of 28 drivers. Still, 60% into this race as Capamajan goes round again. I do wonder whether he thinks he can make the entire race on one set of tyres. Nico Barclay, he goes round again. Gomez and McGlade also. As I see David Yunt into the pit now. Brewster again. I'm wondering whether these top 5 think that they can actually make it to the end, you know.
It would be very interesting because, you know, Richards is closing in slightly on the lead, but not massively. If they can make it on the lead on the one set of tyres, it's going to be a masterstroke because he's going to be so far ahead of everybody else. And the same as Barclay would have gained a lot of positions, as Gomez, McGlade, and Brewster, of course, who had that spin early on.
Right. I may not be able to access Twitter from the luxury of my laptop, but I can access it from the luxury of my phone. And I know Mike Pittman has just pitted in. He says, remember in 2013, it was always better to pit late or last, he says. And to that effect, I can certainly see why some of the drivers are thinking along those lines, because if you pit late, then you'll have fresher tyres near the end, and not only that, but less fuel on board as well. So maybe this is the strategy they're going for. I mean, I'm still not sure whether they can actually make it to the end or not, because if they can make it to the end, then why would you pit in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, if you like you said, if you can make it to the end, why would you lose yourself? What we've seen is in excess of 30 seconds, 30, 40 seconds at least in the pits, as we're starting to see drivers getting lapped now as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think the next 5 or so laps are going to really sort of clear up the picture a bit for us. As I'd expect to see the latest pitters around lap 30, so in 6 laps time.
It is funny, isn't it? Lap 26 of what we believe to be 35 to 36. So we are pretty much in the last third of our race here at Fuji Speedway. Luis Felipe Capamajan, he took pole position. He lost the lead early on, but he is leading. And Scuderia Basilia 1-2 at the moment, with Nico Barclay 26 seconds behind his teammate and compatriot. Pedro Gomez third, Lewis McGlade fourth, Cameron Brewster fifth, and then we go back to Matt Richards, the first of our pitters in 6th. Jacobs also pitter in 7th, Churgwin 8th, also pitter. Then Mark Fuller, 9th for ST, he hasn't pitted. Marius Nicolay in 10th, he has pitted as well, with De Vries 11th, Sousa Ferreira 12th, Boyd Bryson 13th, Paul Watkins 14th, and Martin Palm 15th. Everyone ahead of Paul Watkins has yet to be lapped. Everyone below him, including him, has been lapped. So this is kind of what we were expecting in R Factor 2, a huge variation in, both pit strategies, in tyre wear, in just pure raw speed. And so far, Kapamajan, he might have the trump card to trump everyone. He has the perhaps the joker in the pack as it is. As I see Boyd Bryson trying to overtake Sousa Ferreira around the outside. This is 4th position. Both have pitted. And around the outside at first, Boyd Bryson gets it done up into 12th. Great move from the South African. Nicely defended into Coca-Cola corner as well. So Sousa Ferreira still in the points. He shouldn't take too much to heart from that. Remember, he's a reserve driver. It's Ben Willis and Roy Schroten who should be driving for Fox. 2 replacements for this round, and it's good to see them actually fielding replacements rather than fielding no one at all. And things have become very quiet, actually. Barclay, Gomez, McGlade and Brewster all, yet again, not pitting. They're all quite content just to stay where they are. As I see Theo van den Brink has had a spin in last position. I mean, he's 2 laps off the lead. Might be worth retiring, unfortunately, now. Van der Wilder coming into the pits. Is that a battle between Liebert? No, it's not. Liebert's just letting Richards through. It's all gone a bit quiet, Ben, hasn't it? As I think we may have lost Ben again, unfortunately. As I say, we are trying to sort out the kinks in our first ever R-Factor 2 broadcast. It was going to happen, wasn't it? We must apologise as well if there's no overlays as well. As I say, work in progress. I think it's just good to see the R-Factor 2 cars out on track. Perhaps the closest battle now to look forward to is Pedro Gomez versus Lewis McGlade. These two have been very, very close, actually, on track ever since the pitting phase began. But McGlade doesn't seem fast enough to make a move on the Portuguese driver as of yet. Michael Pittman, didn't Cooper win the opening round in 2013 without pitting? You know, honestly, I can't remember, Mike. I can't remember to save my life.
It's a long way back.
It's a long way back, yeah. 2 years. I can't remember 2 years ago. I was a shouty person. Well, I still am a shouty person, but some things don't change.
In the order at the moment, though, Scuderia Basilia 1-2, which I've just noticed. Whether it stay that way, like I said, we've got on our 27th lap now. If they can go the entire race, that'd be fantastic, and I think he would have had a massive jump on the field. But I can't see it myself personally. I think he will have to pit at some point.
I was saying Lewis McGlade didn't look like he had the pace to actually attack Pedro Gomez. He's certainly showing something now, isn't he? Right on the back of the Portuguese driver. Maybe he's trying to pressure Pedro into a mistake, perhaps? I mean, he's got to watch out because Brewster's still hanging around there in the background in P5.
Yeah, very different lines from McGlade as well. I don't know if he's just trying to stay in Pedro's mirrors and to say, look, I am here. If you make a mistake, I will go past. Or, you know, you give me a little bit of room, I will go past as well. But, yeah, it's fantastic drive here from McGlade. He's currently in 4th position. I
mean, well, to be fair, I'd say, with all due respect to McGlade, he's been an ever-improving sim racing driver ever since he got a wheel. Gomez has sort of been almost a non-existent driver. He's one of those drivers who fades into the background. Yet here he is battling up for a podium position with ST Racing of all the outfits. I mean, there I was blasting them at the beginning of the season, saying that they were going to be nowhere. But if they can make it to the end, I mean, we know this is unlikely as Cameron Brewster pits. Interesting. So Mr. Brewster is in, and so that will mean that Matt Richards and a whole host of people will go past him into P10, as I see Marius Nicolai's gotten past Mark Fuller on track to go into P9. Fuller not pitted, Nicolai has pitted, but I wonder whether Cameron Brewster represents the first of those late pitters, the type that we saw in World GT 2013. It could very well be a repeat of 2 years ago, despite being with a completely different mod and a completely different simulation. And look how quick that pit stop was, Ben.
Yeah,
that was seconds.
A big difference compared to the likes of Jacobs and Richards pit stops. As I just see somebody smoking up the tyres down into turn 1. I think it was David Yunt there, actually.
And look at that. He has jumped Nicolai and De Vries. Undoubtedly. And he is not too far behind Cherwin either in well, we say P4. I am debating how likely that P4 is going to be if the front guys are going to pit as quickly as that.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting. I really want to see the front guys pit just to really spice up. I think they'll all come out around about the same point, so you'll have the top sort of 3 or 4 all together battling for position in the last couple of laps. How exciting would that be for the first race of the season?
It's been a great round so far. We started off with some great close scraps, and even throughout the pit stop stage, we've been intrigued by the strategy. There's still been battling going on trackers. Pitters have been battling away with those who might potentially be on a non-stop strategy. Oh my goodness me. Kappa with a bit of a lag spike there. But look at that. Despite Brewster pitting, Barclay, Gomez and McGlade have all not pitted in response. They're also happy going around. But look at this. Matt Richards in P5. He is going to have his eye in, isn't he? He's got McGlade and Gomez right in his sights now.
Yeah, and we've already seen Richards is incredibly quick. And on fresher tyres, I think Gomez and McGlade are just going to be sitting back to...
Well, you might have cut out again there, Ben, unfortunately. But yeah, absolutely right. Older tyres, not good for racing. And I think that's partly why, as I say, McGlade hasn't even considered trying to make a move on Pedro. He's there. He's trying to force him into a mistake. But, he's still going to get a good position out of this. Don't get us wrong. He's maybe 28 seconds off the lead. But there is a long way back before he would fall out of the points, both Pedro and McGlade. And I've seen Pedro going wide so many times there as they overtake the back marker of Burak Soylu. But surely, just for the sake of their own strategies, they're going to have to let Richards through, just to save their tyres almost and their fuel. As Kappa Majan goes round again. But that said, actually, to be fair, the gap between Kappa Majan and Barkley has decreased by 3 seconds. And I think that was because of a lag spike on Kappa Majan's side. But, Barkley is catching over the last lap. But catching even more is Matt Richards. And I reckon he could be eyeing up a move on both McGlade and Gomez over the next few laps or so.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point McGlade fighting if he's going to on such old tyres. And I think he has just let Richards through there coming into turn 1. That's smart from McGlade. Let him get past and try and just hang on to him a little bit and hope he can propel you through the field as well. Interesting to see if Gomez fights him though.
Yeah, I must say that must be painful for McGlade. I mean, there's certainly rivalries at GPVWC of which the likes we've never seen before. David Franchich and Kevin Siggy coming to mind from Super Cup and World Sports Series, indeed. Very aggressive drivers and just at each other's throats all the time. McGlade and Richards, definitely it's a simmering rivalry, but the two don't have the best taste for each other. So I think that's brave from McGlade not to put up any fight. As you say, we'll see whether Gomez can put up anything. Though it's going to be a similar situation. Look, he goes wide there again. There's Gomez. Using every moment at the track as Richards is in the braking zones, isn't he? Right onto the back of the Portuguese as Kappa Majan goes round again. And onto lap 32 of what we believe is 35 or 36 laps, as we say. It's only a few more laps until the end as Richards gets past Gomez, and that's around the outside of Panasonic. A lovely move, but considering the state of Gomez's tyres at this stage, a bit too easy, I'd imagine, for the Welshman. He's back into the podium.
Yeah, that did appear incredibly easy. Gomez was sliding around all over the place, coming into the braking zone and getting out onto the traction as well. And Richards just drove past him. It's probably one of the easiest moves Richards will ever make in his GPVWC career.
At this stage, though, Ben, as I say, it's lap 32 of, 35 or 36. Is there any point in pitting unless you absolutely have to?
I would say unless your tyres get down to the point where you physically cannot control the car anymore, at this stage there is no point. 25 seconds is the gap now between first and second.
25?
That's a big gap.
To be fair, from what I can see, Matt Richards is not far away from Barclay. He's 3 seconds up the road, Nico. Richards can probably get P2 in this race still, despite pitting. But Kappa Majan, if he can make it to the end, he's pulled an absolute masterstroke this race. He will have won the race by about 20 seconds or so, unless his tyres absolutely fall off the cliff.
Yeah, unless everything absolutely goes from tyre-wise, I think he has got this one in the bag. That gap it's getting to the point where it's unassailable at the moment. At 25 seconds, 27 seconds to Richards. I can't see Richards closing that down, even with fresher tyres. There's just not enough time left.
Barclay a possibility, maybe even a likelihood. The race win may be out of his grasp, though. Also looking back at Thomas Jacobs, Lewis McGlade? Oh, going all posh there. Lewis McGlade, could he actually finally attempt an overtake on Pedro Gomez here? It looks to me like he just can't get enough speed.
Yeah, he had to back in there. He's now decided to come back out for the second time. Is he going to be brave enough on the brakes? It looks like he is.
Yes.
Missed the apex slightly. Gomez coming back at him though.
To go side by side through turn 2 as we head up to Coca-Cola corner at turn 3. Lewis McGlade on the outside. Pedro Gomez has the better line though. McGlade goes deep in. Can he come deep out? No, he's not. He is nicely through, though Pedro Gomez right in the back of him as we head through the double right-hander of 100R and up into the hairpin. For the moment, though, McGlade has made this stick and might be a good time to do that as well as Thomas Jacobs, not too far behind, 5 seconds behind Gomez. He's on fresher tyres as well. And he could provide an extra spice into this battle for the top 4.
Yeah, exactly. I was looking at Jacobs. He's been pretty much following Matt Richards around, but it seems to have dropped off the last sort of 5-6 laps or so. He's now in 6th, where Richards is now in 3rd. But yeah, he should be catching him up pretty quickly. And we just saw McGlade go through and how easily Richards went through as well. So I'm expecting Jacobs to pick off Gomez and McGlade pretty soon.
On Barclay watch, the gap between him and Matt Richards is now 1.7 seconds, and the good thing for Matt Richards is he has just received a lovely tow from Paul Joseph, and around he goes, the BMW, the mighty 4th driver, who will still be scoring a point. Actually, Paul Watkins in P15. He's got Martin Palmer ahead, will be a couple of points on the team's debut here at GPVWC. But Matt Richards is closing, but at the same time the lap count is going down. 34. Lap 34 of potentially 35 or 36 we are now. It's 90% through this race. Time is very literally running out for Richards to make P2 a possibility here. Look at him, he's got to do something. Into the hairpin we go now. Barclay, oh, he is struggling. You can see him, he doesn't want any more. He's actually gaining on his teammate Kappa up ahead, but Kappa's got so much time in the bag, he could potentially pit for a short stop of fuel and he'd be absolutely fine. Perhaps even a bit of tyres wouldn't do him too much bad. Barclay, it's all about time on this one. Can he hold out for what are the final few minutes of this race? It's going to be exciting to see for sure.
Yeah, this is going to be the battle to watch, for P2. Kappa could almost pull over to the side of the road and have a picnic. He's 25 seconds ahead, about 24.6 seconds ahead, with what we think is going to be around 2-3 laps.
This might be the final lap here. As Thomas Jacobs has got past Pedro Gomez, I see. P5 and P6, I think that was Pedro Gomez going off the track potentially. Yeah, he went very wide at Net's corner there, rejoined. Still well ahead in P6, but Jacobs is into P5 now. But as you rightly say, it's lap 35. This might be the final lap of the race even. The ticker might time over before we head on to lap 36 here. So final lap for Matt Richards potentially to make a move. That said, he's only 5/10 away from his target.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly interesting to watch. I'm just watching the body language of his car and it looks so planted, where Barclays is squirming all over the place and just crying enough.
Please, stop. The one we need to watch out for, though, is actually Kappa. Because, let's go on board with him now, Quinton, because the ticker might turn over before the end of this lap. He's in the final complex now. Oh, look at the lack of grip on that car. As I say, Barclay's actually catching his teammate at this rate. But his setup has worked to perfection. It's saved the tyres so much more effectively. And it's going to be a run to the line. Are we going to have a 36th lap here? It may be the case. Oh, yes we are. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Oh, the line now is coming up. I hate how long this straight is. Right, there we are, lap 36. So everyone on the lead lap, I should say, will have to go round one more time. And Nico Barclay, had this been the end of the race, he would have been safe. As it is now, though, he is not. And Matt Richards getting a nice tow from Paul Watkins now, who's in 15th, trying desperately to catch up. I must say, Barclay doing an excellent job to even try and stay ahead. I would have expected Rich to be right on his rear by now. As we head into first, Barclay, the gap, oh wow, look at this. The gap between Richards is actually extended to a second, so the traffic working perfectly for Nico Barclay. Lewis McGlade 4th, Thomas Jacobs 5th, Gomez still in 6th, Churgwin 7th with Brewster 8th, Nikolai in 9th, and De Vries back up into the top 10.
It's going to have to be do or die for Richards on this lap. He's closing up massively through one. He's right there. We're going to have to... Oh, he's squirming again, Barclay. Can he move around the outside?
I'm looking at both here. I'm looking at both here because Kappa's in the final sector once again. But Richards is eyeing up a move. He won't be able to do into Dunlop, but he might be able to catch Barclay out in the uphill section. Kappa, he's onto the straight now. I would say keep an eye on Kappa. Yep, it's gone. The ticker's over. This is the final lap confirmed. And so our first winner of the year from pole position. It didn't look like it for a while, but Luis Felipe Kappa Majan wins for Scuderia Basilia. What a great drive from the Peruvian, a no-stop strategy working. We now look back to Nico Barclay's on the final lap of this race. It's going to be a race to the line. Look how many cars there are here. Barclay trying to get the slipstream of Ken Hunter and Matt Richards. He's decided to take no slipstream, and I think Barclay's going to hold on here. Can Richards catch? Oh, it's going to be straight to the line. Barclay goes defensive. Oh my word, and Nico Barclay by 800. Hold on, are they still battling?
I'm not sure anybody's told him it's the end of the race.
It is, so misinformation. Sorry, we thought it was going to be hour ticked over. That's it, wrong. This is the final lap, sorry. Give me the right information next time, people. Nico Barclay, I thought he'd done it. No, he is not. Matt Richards, he's going to lose it at the final death, isn't he?
One more lap to hold on.
This is the final lap, yeah. This is the final lap. Look how close Richards is. Barclay defending as if his very life depended on it. Matt Richards going to try around the outside. No, he's not. He's got to dive back in. Is he going to have a little lock up into Dunlop, though? Surely he is. I'm also keeping an eye on Kappa. Around the outside of Dunlop, Matt Richards. He's going to have a go. He's off track, though. No, I don't think that's not Barclay's fault, I don't think. But let's go back to Kappa now. This is the end of the race. He is going to be our first winner, despite not looking like it. Luis Felipe Kappa Majan wins for Scuderia Basilia once we eventually reach the start-finish line, which is here. What? Is that the end of the race?
Nothing's came up on my screen saying it's the end of the race.
It's 1 hour. When is the end of the race?
Barclay's still holding on though, coming down the main straight.
He is
still holding on.
I think Richards is going to get him now though. Oh, very close. And yeah, Matt Richards, this is another lap. I don't know why this is going on. But anyway, Matt Richards finally gets past Nico Barclay. And whereas I thought it was going to be the end of the race, unfortunately it's not. And Nico Barclay demoted down to P3. It's been an epic effort from the Peruvian so far to hold on for so long. Got to be careful though, because look at McGlade and Jacobs there in the background. They are very close to this battle for the podium, and they could yet gain the spoils.
Yeah, exactly that. It's with Barclay's tyres the way they are, I wouldn't be surprised if we now saw McGlade try and follow Richards through.
Oh,
the tyre squeal.
Oh, it's hurting. You can hear it. It's like a whining puppy going into that hairpin. But McGlade's got to be careful, actually, because look at Jacobs. He smells blood here, and he could take P4 at the death. Right, Kappa Majan rounds the final corner again, and he's disconnected. No, he is not. Oh, my God.
There he goes. He's back.
Oh, my God.
Just to quickly jump in, I was just looking back at my man for a top 10, Cameron Brewster, to see him backwards in turn 1. He is still in 8th position, but he's lost quite a bit of time.
Kappa wins. Sorry, Kappa wins. This was the final lap of the race. So Kappa Majan wins for Scuderia Basilia. Finally, I'm going to have to sort out. Meanwhile, Matt Richards just holding on to Nico Barclay here. Jacobs has got past McGlade, by the way, unfortunately. Matt Richards does prevent a Scuderia Basilia 1-2, does it? The line is very late here at Fuji Speedway. Yeah, it was by a close margin, but Matt Richards takes 2nd. Barclay 3rd, Jacobs 4th, McGlade 5th, Gomez a wonderful 6th. for ST Racing. He jumped Matthew Churgwin thanks to the no-stop strategy. And Cameron Brewster, as you say, great effort from a lap 1 spin and a short pit stop as well. He does finish in the top 10 on his debut, but how much more could it have been had he not had that spin? He will come home P8 for Torrent Motorsports, a long way behind Churgwin, mind you. Then, despite missing a rear bumper, Marius Nicolai's had an eventful race, hasn't he? Nevertheless, he'll take home 7 points for the Walk Racing team. And then behind, oh, look at this battle going on. Sven de Vries, he got back into the top 10, but Boyd Bryson, he was always a sneaky one, Boyd. He was always able to sneak into the top 10 once in a while. He got a podium in 2013 as well. He won't get a top 10 this time. Sven de Vries will be taking that honour. But 10th for de Vries, 11th for Boyd, and then, of course, we've had people finishing a lap back. Mark Fuller with points on the board for SC as well, 12th for him. Martin Palm, 13th for Torrent. 2 points, in fact, no, 3 points for the Mighty Force. 14th for Paul Watkins, 15th for Paul Joseph. Lovely stuff. Apart from that drama at the end where we didn't know what lap we were finishing on, what a great way to bring the World GT back into the ranks of GPVWC.
Yeah, that was definitely an action-packed last sort of 10 minutes or so, and definitely a lot of confusion as well. We will have to get the information a bit more updated and a bit quicker to us, because that was a bit inaccurate for us the last couple of laps, wasn't it? We had
no idea.
Laps there, James.
The ticker went over, well, it said 1 hour, and I thought, that's the end of the race. It's ticked over to 1 hour. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. So I'd have to imagine, unless there is a special timing mechanic which we can use from now on, we'll have to say, once the timer ticks over to 1 hour, maybe the next 5 laps is when the race will end, I guess. But yeah, what a great way to bring World GT back. And what a start for Scuderia Basilio. 1-3. They are well in the lead of the championship now.
Yeah, fantastic result for Scuderia Basilio. I've just had some information from our cameraman as well, Quentin, that the ticket included the formation lap.
Right. That doesn't make any difference to me. I want to know when the race finishes so I can be loud and shouty and praise the winner to the high heavens, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. Anyway, we certainly hope you all enjoyed it as well at home, because I think considering that this was our first broadcast on R Factor 2, considering all the things that could have gone wrong, that actually went rather well.
Yeah, it was a very eventful race. A lot of cars missing bodywork and things, and some fantastic action. Nico Barclay as well with some fantastic manoeuvres around the outside. Definitely a contender for move of the race. And yeah, we had some interesting strategy calls as well. So overall, action-packed race, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
I would have to say, I mean, it's hard to say who a driver of the day is, because really we haven't had many people who can overly impress or under-impress, since it is literally a brand new playing field. But for me, Nico Barclay, some of the moves that he pulled in that race were absolutely fabulous. And I feel sorry that he got held up in some way at the beginning there, but what a way to come back. Podium as well. Anyway, wait here for interview. So we're going to bring in.
I overtook Barkley and I wasn't. Oh,
sorry, we dragging people out of their comfort zones. Matt Richards finished P2 for Smile Power Racing. Those pesky people who didn't pit, they caused you a bit of issue, didn't they?
A little bit, yeah, I guess. Was just trying as hard as I could for the race, really. I pushed from the start, as you could probably tell, because I knew my tyres wouldn't really make the distance. So I pitted and just hoped that everybody else pitted, because as far as I'd been told, the only car that could really make it on fuel if it tried was the Porsche. But obviously the vets were able to do it too, which is very well done to Luis, because he must have worked very hard for that. But whew, tough race, very tired.
Yeah, I can imagine. You took part in World GT 2 years ago in 2013. If you can remember back that far, how different is it to this year? Because you've got a brand new platform and a brand new mod as well. By the sounds of it, it takes a lot more out of you than the R Factor equivalent.
Oh God, it's different. And the one thing I will say is that the feel from that you get back from the game while you're driving is absolutely incredible. As soon as you learn the way the game works with obviously the racing line and the tyre wear, and it's just so fun to drive. But if you have the right settings, it's so hard to get through a long race like that, especially the longer stints.
Yeah, I can imagine. So Interlagos next on our varied calendar, the Brazilian track with its own elevation changes, but a bit of a shorter track, not as many tight corners as Fuji. Are you looking forward to the challenge there? Do you think you might be able to provide a no-stop at that track, or are you a little bit worried about that one as well?
I'm going to be bloody well working on getting a no-stop for that one, I can tell you that. It's a track that I know better than Fuji, and it's a track that I can go quicker than at Fuji as well, because Fuji's not a particularly great track for me. This is the best result I've ever had on it. I think my other best result's like a 20th somewhere. Yeah. But hopefully, if I can get the no stop on the car for the next round, work out the fuel saving, and get the setup right, hopefully I can come back a bit stronger next round.
Right then, well, good, great results, great way to start off World GT. Thank you very much for joining us, Matt.
Thank you.
And I think, let's bring, since we don't have our two Peruvians with us, we shall interview two people outside the podium for a change. It's World GT, it's the starting of a new era. Why not? Let's start, first of all, with P5. Lewis McGlade now, unlike Matt Richards, he went for a no-stop strategy. And even though you lost out to Matt and Jacobs near the end of the race, overall, surely P5's got to be a great result for you in Aurora Motorsports.
Yeah, see, I came into the round obviously not expecting anything, as you were aware. I didn't really expect to run in the points. GTs aren't really my thing. But, I had a pretty good run. I knew I had fairly solid pace. Annoyed that whilst there was like 3 or 4 people fighting in front, I think it was like Sven and another Ferrari and a Corvette. They're all like fighting in front of me. And I spun in the process. I double downshifted for the hairpin. I spun, which is really annoying because looking back on it, I probably could have got that podium. But nevertheless, it was a good round to start on. 5th is much better result than I ever thought I'd get, and I don't think we'll have the advantage on the no stop for too long because people will start figuring out how to do it. But it was a good way to start the season.
And talking of no stops, we've got these new Peruvian kids on the block, Luis and Nico. They're good, aren't they? Do you think it's going to be a bit of a stretch to try and overtake them in the races to come?
Not a clue. I have no idea how they no stopped in the how Luis no stopped in the Corvette. It was a fantastic drive, but it's really hard to tell where the season's going to go because the cars are going to be a bit different depending on which tracks we go to, with the tyre wear and the fuel. So there might be some tracks coming up where no stopping is not an option. And then that will rebalance out the field a bit more and we'll see where we go from there. But I wouldn't say this is going to be a runaway championship at all because this has got some legs. We've got not a clue who's going to win it because of how balanced it out. There was a lot of people who I thought were going to be further forward that weren't. But no, it's a very interesting start to the season and hopefully a good one to come.
Legs and very lovely legs to look at as well. Thank you very much, Lewis. Interesting to get the whole commentator input, actually. We've got plenty of commentators in this race, no less Matthew Chergwin, who also was on a one-stop strategy, similar to Matt Richards. And for you, it was actually quite a quiet race. You had a good start up to 4th, pitted, didn't really get as far ahead as you would have probably hoped, I imagine, with the one-stop strategy, but nevertheless, a solid top 10 for TSA. It's not a bad start for the new series, is it?
Absolutely not. Yeah, we've just equalled our best ever result in World GT, so I'll definitely take that. Yeah, the start was good. I decided to go conservative and use endurance tyres, and they went off. They just went off so quick in that first stint. Just losing time, hand over fist, and put the sprints on. It was like a completely different car, and the lap time started coming, and well, I nearly took the fastest lap during the first few laps. I had fresh tyres on, so yeah, unfortunate, but yeah, a quiet race. I'll quite happily take a quiet race than one where there's a little bit of frisky action or anything like that. It was harder work. I think Lewis just mentioned that. There's the dynamics of R Factor 2. It's not like R Factor where you can kind of get in a rhythm quite quickly. It's little moments here and there, and spinning up the tyres and you've overcooked him for the next few corners. So yeah, no, very pleased. And as Liz just said, Fuji, great track to start, and looking forward to the next one.
Must be said then, surely, from what it sounds like, even after doing all that practice for Fuji, heading into this season and probably continuing throughout the season, it's going to be an ever growing and ever learning experience for you. You never really know what can come up on the next track, whether it's tyre wear issues or maybe fuel issues. You never know. Might we see you on pole position in the future?
Well, fingers crossed. Yeah, I mean, to be totally honest, did plenty of practice in advance and thought, oh, okay, well, I was up towards the sharp end, which is always nice. But then again, had two lads turn up in the Corvettes and they absolutely nailed it. How on earth they're able to do, well, first of all, the lap times and then obviously no stop as well. I mean, fair play to them. That's 20 odd seconds plus obviously their lap times that we all need to find. And, we've got a long season ahead of us, plenty of time to learn. And as you say, the season's got legs. So yeah, looking forward to it. Always like a challenge, and we're going to have that coming up.
Thank you very much, checking there. Congratulations on your results as well. So, what a way to come back to World GT. It was the second most popular series by driver number in 2013, and even though we haven't seen a full grid today, I think what's positive about it is, considering the last championship we had on R Factor 2, where the standards were definitely not at the best that GPVWC had seen, despite all the worries, despite all the fears, and despite all the hype, we got a good show, and we've got a great championship to look forward to as well, Ben.
Oh, most definitely. It's a fantastic advert for R Factor 2 and GPVWC in general. We saw some fantastic battles. We had many surprises. Some bypass flying around. I think the only thing we're missing from that race was a bit of rain, actually. And I don't think that could have spiced it up any more. If I'm honest, it's a fantastic race to watch and to commentate on.
Talking of rain, you might remember the Circuit Algarve from yesterday in the World Sports Series. Well, it could be seeing a little bit of the wet stuff hitting the track. The Career Ladder returns next week with Open Series on the Tuesday, followed shortly by Formula Challenge. It's then Super Cup on the Wednesday and the Portuguese Grand Prix on the Thursday. And then make sure to join us the week after, where the International Touring Cup on Monday starts up for the 2015 season, with then followed by the Turkish Sports Series on Wednesday. And unfortunately, no World GT in 2 weeks' time. It's a monthly series, but I think the best races come when you save them for last. Any case, I want to thank my wonderful broadcast team. It was short notice, but we got something out. To my cameraman, Quinton Plain, to do the things that he did this evening with the amount of time at hand is absolutely incredible. A monumental effort from him. Also, thanks to our newbie commentator, Ben Horrell. I think he did a fantastic job, mate. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it's a very warm goodbye.
Goodbye for now.